In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the thermostat housing on this Mercedes E350. Let's get into it. Underneath, we're going to drain the coolant. There's a little valve right here. And I'm just going to put a hose on the end and then loosen up the valve. Make sure there's a drain bucket underneath. I'll just drain the coolant out. I'll just grab this panel and slide it up. It is pushed in. There's some clips on the back. Underneath this hose, I'm just going to use a straight blade screwdriver. Slide under the clip. Pull that clip down. With that clip down, grab the hose. Just wiggle it back and forth a little bit. Pry it out with the screwdriver. There we go. Slide that out of the way. Using a 17mm socket underneath the tensioner, there's a spot where you can adjust the tensioner. Loosen the tension, and then we'll take the belt off. Right there. We don't have to take the belt off completely, just slide it out of the way. That's good. Using a E10 socket, we'll loosen up the bolt for the idler pulley. And take that bolt out and the pulley off. There's a bolt right at the top. It's real tight in the corner. You're going to use an E10 socket. If you don't have one that's a little thinner, you want to use an 8mm socket. That'll work just as well. Loosen that up and take that bolt out. That's loose. Just use a magnet and grab that bolt. Slide that out. Right down here there's a connector. I'm just going to use a pick and just slide back on that little lock tab. Just be careful. Slide that back just a little. And this lock came out, and that's okay. Normally if it just pops back, then you can push the little tab right here and slide the connector off. And just pop that off. You should be able to just push on this tab in the back here, and then you can disconnect the connector. Now below where the connector was, I'm going to use the 8mm socket, but you can use an E10 socket. Take that bolt out. Slide that out and just grab the thermostat and just pull outward. You're going to lose a little coolant, and it comes right off. Now just with a scraper or a razor blade, just clean up the surface area where the gasket's going to go. Just any excessive gasket that's left behind. That's pretty good. I'll just wipe it with a rag. You can use a little brake parts cleaner as well. That's good. Take the new thermostat housing, you put a little O-ring lubricant on the O-ring just to make it go in, slide in easier. Make sure the gasket's on as well. That's good. And don't crush the wire. Take the bolts. Get the bottom bolt started. Then the top bolt. Snug those down. Now we're going to torque those bolts to 18 foot-pounds. Alright, that's good. Now I'll take this lock, put it back in the connector, line that up. If yours didn't pop out, you don't have to do this step. You can plug the connector back in. Lock it down. And push the lock all the way down. Make sure that's tight. That looks good. Take the idler pulley, get that lined up. Screw the bolt in and we'll tighten it down. Snug that down. Now we'll put the belt back on. Pull it up over the tensioner. It's going to go on the back side of this pulley, below the water pump, down near the alternator. Then I'll take the socket, the ratchet, loosen the tension on the tensioner, and just slide it over the top. And just make sure it's going around all the pulleys correctly. Looks good. Just wipe the O-ring off. It's a good idea to replace that O-ring if you have one. Just going to take a little O-ring lubricant. Slide that in place. Lock it down. Take this cover, line it up, and lock it in place. I'm going to take the hose off and close up the valve. And you want to take the cap off the reservoir for the coolant. Add the appropriate type of coolant with a 50-50 mix. The coolant should be up a little more than halfway in the reservoir. You can put the cap on. If you see a full line, make sure it's up to the full line. Then you want to run the vehicle for about 10 or 15 minutes, monitoring to make sure the engine's not overheating. Then shut the vehicle down. Once it's cool, adjust the coolant level accordingly.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.